भाइयों और बहनों, देवियों सज्जनों, the co-hosts of the show have finally met each other
Oh
after.
my God. It only took 2 years to make this happen.
Yes, almost 2 years. We had a dramatic, how do I put it? Dramatic Karan Arjun moment of meeting each other in Bombay at the Spotify Creators Day, which is captured on camera. It's across social media. If you haven't seen it yet,
Please go like,
but
retweet, comment.
it was good to meet. Good to meet. Hence why we're recording on a Monday and not a Saturday. Because on Saturday we were hanging out together in person,
Oh my
and just like
God.
fun. That was fun.
Yeah, man. And also, we didn't just meet each other. I met Jalasmi and Vishnu for the very first time in my whole entire
Yes, the
life, which
full
was
gang.
amazing.
The full
Yeah,
gang met each other.
wow.
We finally know how tall we all are.
Yes. And we have gang pictures also, the Think Fast gang.
Big first
So
gang followed us.
exciting. World's like lamest, nerdiest like gang of four.
Yes. And also to all those people on Twitter who keep sending us messages saying, why did you not have an episode last week? I'm like, Diwali hota hai yaar. Log kuch aur karte hain. Allow us to enjoy with friends and family. Allow Suchita to go to Bhutan and terrorize the neighborhood. Uh,
Guys, can you imagine? I'm like a changed human being. I've literally become like Varun. Like now I'm taking holidays, I'm going to places, I'm hanging out with friends, I'm taking like a 14-hour trip to
Kya ho
Bombay
gaya?
so I can meet people who I know. I'm like a transformed human being, guys. This has not been me for the past 3 years.
Kalyug aa gaya, Kalyug. I don't know why I'm in a
Kalyu.
Hindi mood today.
Oh my
Speaking of
God.
Kalyug, what the fuck is going on at Twitter?
Yeah, Twitter really is like Kalyug these days. It's kind of wild, no? Like some days they fire
It's
people, then they
sad
bring
and
people
bizarre.
back. It's yeah, and like Elon seems to be losing it with his like $8 tick on
Hmm.
Twitter. What's your take on this Twitter conundrum?
So here's a few things, right? I don't think what he wants to do is wrong. It's the way he's doing it which is terrible.
Hmm.
Twitter's never had a good ad business. Twitter's ad business has sucked for a long time. Primarily because it never could really compete, right? I mean, there's no sophistication in that product. I mean, coming from the ad industry, or I used to work in the industry, when you even want to buy units, it was so tough to figure out how to kind of make it work. There was nothing there,
Yeah,
right? Compared to, let's say, a
yeah,
Facebook, Google, everybody else. And subscription was a good way to go because that's where media's really gone, news media's really gone, and Twitter's really in that space. So it made sense.
hmm.
Bringing Wine back might actually make sense for a Twitter to do. Even like looking at the entire workforce and saying, okay, as a business leader, you have to from time to time look at your business, saying, okay, 1 second, if you have a bloated workforce, you got to figure out how to downsize it,
Hmm.
and in the best possible way. And therein
Yeah,
lies the problem. He's doing in this is very like bizarre, like knee-jerk reaction-ish. Let's break things, like not even break things, let's burn things before we build them up again, or even if maybe we can't even build it back again scenario.
yeah,
And that just leaves people thinking what is going on. It creates chaos. People, I don't know how people are doing their job at Twitter right now, because I
yeah.
mean, you don't know what's going on. I think that's really the problem. The problem isn't the things he wants to do, it's about how he wants to do them.
But like, and I'm not saying you're coming to his defense, but isn't that the world's most lamest, defense of all of these like megalomaniacs, which Elon Musk very much is, and he's a megalomaniac for quote unquote understandable reasons, right? He
Yeah.
is, dude. Apparently, he sent 50 rockets into space. Uh, and I think apart from I don't think there's been like any like issue as such. Like he's
Yeah.
literally been able to send rockets into space and get them back without things like literally crashing and burning. Obviously, first mover in Tesla. All in all, he's done great work. But I think somewhere someone he's kind of like a, I don't know how to explain it to you. It's like there's him and there's Kanye West. Both of
Hmm.
them seem to be like train wrecks in very different directions, but like
Yeah.
train wrecks nonetheless. Nonetheless, in any case, I don't want to waste more oxygen on
Yeah.
Twitter and Mr.
I mean,
Elon
the only
Musk.
thing I would say is that a lot of people from the Twitter India team, some like great people who work
Really have
there,
changed my mind.
work on a
Yeah,
let go of. So I'm like, I think it's generally, if you know someone who works there, reach out to them, check how they're doing. That's what we should all do. See if we can
yeah,
kind of help them out in any way. I think that's one of the things we should like all really go out and do. I pinged a
yeah.
few people I know and saying, guys, are you doing fine? And stuff like that. But it's a bad time for them. It's a bad time to be someone who's worked in that company for a long time.
I mean, to be fair, it's a bad time to be like an employee anywhere at this point in
I
time because
agree.
apparently
I agree.
Meta is going to be announcing layoffs. Apple has done a
Yeah.
hiring freeze. Amazon has done a hiring freeze. Like Stripe, which was like the poster child of, the internet basically. They also cut about 14% of their staff. Obviously, there are a couple of companies who've, sort of who've said that these cost cutting slash staff cutting measures haven't happened as a result of the recession, but more as a
Mm.
result of streamlining their business, right? Because
Yeah.
if you think about it, during COVID, everyone kind of lost the plot. People assumed that certain behavior adopted in COVID would
Mm.
last even after COVID, which obviously hasn't been the case, right? People have gone back to offline. Specifically in a country like India, cash is back. You can't say everything was digitized overnight. You're even
Mm.
seeing the likes of a lot of your, in the Indian context, Kirana tech players
Yeah.
figure their life out, right? Because Kirana tech is no more a requirement as it was perhaps during those 2 years of COVID. So I think some part of these layoffs and corrections is because people assumed that there were certain behavioral changes that would last for the rest of humanity's lifetime.
Mm.
But humans are human. You go back to your default behavior no matter what. But yeah, shitty time all around the world.
Yeah. It's also, if you look at it, you go through these cycles, right? Because you go through this surge of everything is growing like endlessly, massive growth, etc. And this one will cry. Then it kind of, this is required in the business environment,
Hmm.
keeping aside the human cost in that sense of the word, um, because that's when you kind of really know what the actual business value is. Like
Yeah.
Apple had a decent quarterly earnings, right, compared to
Oh
everybody
yeah,
else,
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
Apple's got like figured this out. They got multiple revenue streams. They're the only ones who kind of got through this by still showing. But I mean, as much as people still worry about them just having way too much reliance on the iPhone, but I'm like, if you
Hmm.
got that much money, you're fine.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Speaking
what's
of
happening in
people who
India?
have a lot of money,
What's happening in India?
Tirupati temple is richer than Wipro, Nestle, and ONGC.
I'm
Religion
not
wins, guys.
surprised.
Religion wins.
So here's the thing, right? And I've been to Tirupati like what 14, 15 times in my life, and I must tell you this. And I've been to a lot of temples. It is by far one of the most organized and structured environment I've ever been in. Like everything from like where people can kind of stay for free. The Mundan scenario, there's this massive Mundan areas. Because I've done everything from go with like a couple of friends out of like college and just like literally go like walk up and finish the thing and walk back down, to like going with
Hmm.
parents and all that stuff. So uh, I can see where they spend the money. I can
Yeah.
also see where the I mean, think about all the wigs that are across the world because that hair comes from Tirupati, right? There's so much that goes on, but I admire that organization for just how organized they are. You go there, you'll see it's pristine, clean. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot to admire, and just like they're richer than Wipro, Nestle, but they're super organized.
Yes, we should become god men, god women. Think fast should just basically become a cult, guys. That's it. That's going to be our business model. In other news, IKEA India Private Limited has posted a 73% growth in
Hmm.
their revenue for FY 2022. Obviously, losses have widened because of the format of IKEA. But interestingly enough, I mean, not just IKEA, but even Uniqlo, right? Uniqlo, I think, had revenues of close to about 400 crores and was profitable. IKEA obviously is loss making given the size and the format of their stores, but their revenues are up to close to 1100 odd crores. I think
Hmm.
the one key, takeaway for me over here is your western slash international companies are really doing what it takes to understand India as a market top to bottom. I mean, can you just imagine the amount of energy IKEA would have put into everything, right? From supply
Yeah.
chain to, localizing some of their products to figuring out local manufacturers, given that laws are also becoming fairly strict when it comes to, import, export, so on and so forth. But long story short, I think for me, it's really interesting to see international companies being able to navigate the Indian market because India has been notorious, right? India has been
Yeah.
like your wasteland for the most part, where people release their old collections and sell them at, dirt cheap prices. But both Uniqlo and IKEA seem to be taking a more fresh, premiumized take on the respective markets that they target. What's your take on this?
Uh, And I also feel it's a interesting look at just how stores are functioning, right? Because you spoke about the entire online. If you look about Uniqlo and IKEA, as much as there are online sales and there are happening there, this focus on the store, which
Hmm.
was spoken about as this thing that's going to die, and everything
Yeah.
is going to go online. It's a bit of a testament to that people want the experience, people want to go there, even if
Yeah.
it means, like, I recently bought a bunch of stuff of IKEA, but I went to the store, checked all
Hmm.
the stuff, then I bought it online, because I wanted it, or I did part of that buying over there as well. But I think that experience is important for many of these categories, which you often discount. And so I think that's an important thing to learn about as well, is the fact that stores are becoming more and more relevant, post the entire, like, stores are gone now, conversation.
Yes, Queen. In other quick news, Bits Pilani allows students to take a year off to build startups. What do you think about this?
I mean, I guess anyway, people are building startups while they're at Bits Pilani, so I don't
Hmm.
see the big deal. People will always still take a year off. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm very badly educated, so I don't
I think
understand
this is a
these
little bit
things.
about signaling. You know what I mean? Like it's a little
Hmm.
bit of like go start up India, you pursue your dreams, girlfriend. Like it's a little bit of that. But yeah, that was my take on it. A company which obviously has been in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons is Byju's. I'm sure all of
Rajos,
our listeners have heard of their untimely
this
announcement.
story is called a self goal.
Yeah, full on self. Who have you tapered that joke from on Twitter?
I don't know. It was a very obvious joke. Come on, you cannot not
You
be.
have copy pasted
It is
it.
not
Bhai,
copied. It is
your
a very
sense of humor
obvious
is not
joke.
obvious. Your sense of humor is Papa Ji. That was not a dad joke. That was
That was a
yeah,
good joke.
guys.
Not bad. Not bad. See, sometimes it comes.
Whoever
I'm
made
allowed
this
to.
joke first on Twitter, please take credit and tag Varun and tell him to f off. But very specifically to this, what's your take on this, man? Was it bad PR? Was it bad planning, or was it just Baiju being
I
Baiju?
I, I just think it's a bizarre move, because I don't know what it does for the brand.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's not like getting Messi on as a global brand ambassador does anything for a brand like Byju's, according to me. Um, and so it doesn't make sense in either case. On one end, you're spending all
Wasn't it
this
for some
money.
like CSR initiative or some shit?
No, he's a global some education brand ambassador, that kind of a thing. But I mean, think about it, right? It's how does this make sense? Some of these deals kind of boggle my mind, but this one specifically, I mean, they've been through this entire piece about being shown, in a bad light because their financial pieces, that whole investment cycle that's been happening. They've had to let go of people. They've been through this entire com cycle of bad news, and then you do
Yeah.
this. This is not you doing yourself a favor. This is just you trying to digging yourself deeper into the hole which you're already in from a perspective. So yeah, it's
Yeah, but
just
I
like,
want to push back a little bit over here because, like, I think the general uproar that's happened of, oh my God, how can Byju's afford to pay Messi and, fire like 2,500 people from their staff at the same point in time? Those are very unrelated things. So I 100% get the criticism around what is the relevance of, Messi. Why is he even needed right now? They just pumped in a shit ton of money in the IPL, or was it IPL, World Cup, one of these two, right? Like they put a lot of money in cricket.
you're the Indian cricket
Uh,
team, no? They were the sponsors.
Acha,
They
this is
were
how much I watch cricket, guys. This is how much I watch cricket. And obviously, the other thing is they paid a shit ton of money, I'm assuming, to Shah Rukh Khan because Shah Rukh Khan was a brand ambassador for Byju's for a bit.
also owns equity.
Oh, he must really value that equity. But yeah, I think this conflating two unrelated things, like, yeah, Messi wasn't booked as an ambassador overnight, guys.
Hmm.
Vis-a-vis the firing. But in much ado about Byju's, what else, bro? What
Yeah.
else?
और क्या चल रहा है योर Jacquemus.
Oh my
Jacquemus.
God. What is
Jaguar का
wrong
भाई
with you?
Jacquemus.
Hi. There are some women throwing their Jacquemus bags in your
Jacquemus.
general direction. Oh my God, just stop. This guy
Have you
is
put on
like,
some Jacquemus in your hair today?
okay, one to anything that comes out of your mouth sounds pervy. Varun, I swear.
Mousse,
Full
like
on.
hair mousse, Jacquemus.
Why don't we, you jealous me, why don't you come onto the stream and tell all our listeners how pedo Varun was being at the Spotify event?
I am not pedo. I am an old person meeting young people and saying like nice things to them because they were
Of
being sweet.
course, of course. Want to take a picture with me? Want to take a picture with me? But in any case, guys, before we digress and make fun of Varun being a pedo, um, there's this brand that I'd encourage all of you guys to check out. It's called Jacquemus, and if you have like any female friend or if you're a female yourself, chances are you have stumbled upon any large celebrity wearing or carrying their brand. I can tell you literally every like South Delhi girl from Chhatarpur farmhouse has at least one Jacquemus Chiquita, whatever bag it's called. But the reason why this brand is interesting is because this guy has literally built his business more or less bootstrapped. He's one of the top performing independent luxury brands. They are on track to reach annual revenues of over 200 million pounds, which is $200 million now, and they have plans to reach about 500 million pounds of revenue in 2025. And guys, this is on the back of only bags. Not only bags, but bags are like a majority of their business. So a little fun fact for the week, please go check out Jacquemus,
What
and
do you
please
call a
go through their
cow called Jacques?
Oh my
Jacquemus.
god. Oh my god. Guys, I can't. This is why I was resisting meeting you for 2 years. I was all like, say he'll either get a hug or he'll get jutas. It'll be one or the other.
Fine,
The
fine,
latter for his jokes.
fine. On ending our long introduction with good news, the Indian women's cricket team will be paid the same match fees as their male counterparts. About time.
Woohoo!
About time.
Who
Well
do you
done,
want to thank,
BCCI.
Varun? Who do you want to
I thank
thank?
Jay Shah for doing this good job. Good
Who
job,
is
BCCI. Well
related
done.
to? Please tell us. One more
He's
time. Zor
related
se bolo.
to some very fine people. And we're moving ahead from this very quickly and not getting deeper into that part of the story. But well done. But I think it's a good movie. I think about time. Also, I feel there's been slow growth in focus on the women's cricket team. People watch a lot more of their matches. They've been doing really well. You
Yeah.
know the names of players. You've been seeing. Then even the streaming platforms are showing the matches a lot. Before you would not even know where to watch a women's cricket match.
Hmm.
So I feel it's happened at the right time when it's kind of like the sport itself is getting that level of prominence, and so good call all together.
Woohoo! And what are we talking about this
We talk,
week?
we talk about founders of companies becoming the stars of their own ads. There's a lot
Hmm.
of those happening, so we're good to kind of talk about that. So we're tapping into that. We're talking about Airbnb and what they're up to. Sleep companies, something which I enjoy, which is sleep. So you can talk about the companies. I will talk about sleep. And
Okay.
there's a lot of companies, deferring their IPOs. Right, board recently announced we'll tap into that and some of the others there. And closing off with the entire MyGate saga. MyGate is going through a bit of a weird evolution in their journey, and they seem to be a bit of bother. So we're going to talk about that, and yeah, that's what talk about this week. But for that,
Nice long
we shall take a break.
episode.
We'll be right back on Think Fast.
Hey everyone, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Cock and Bull, Cyrus and Antarish are joined by actor and content creator Zirwan Bansha. They talk about Elon Musk's takeover of Twitter and the efforts to make Hindi an official UN language. On Paisa Vaisa, Anupam is joined by Vishal and Shalini Dhawan, founder of Plan Ahead Wealth Advisors. They shed some light on contingency funds, financial planning for women, and a lot more. On Storytellers and Storysellers, Vineet talks to popular content creator Daniel Mack about his creator's journey and his latest piece with Ranveer Singh at the Meta Creators Day. On Advertising is Dead, Varun talks to Kaushik Mukherjee, co-founder and CEO of Sugar Cosmetics. The duo talk about the conceptualization behind their products. And on Postcards from Nowhere, Utsav takes us on a journey from Amsterdam to Dalhousie, where we learn the strange connection between Anne Frank and the Bollywood film Lutera. Once again, don't forget to visit our merch store on ivmpodcast.com. We have some super cool and exciting stuff for you. Also, do follow us on social media properties. We are at IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Also, do remember to spread the word, as you know, it helps a lot. And of course, don't forget to rate and review our shows on whatever platform you're listening to them. You can also check out all our shows on youtube.com/IVM Podcasts. And finally, we would like to thank our sponsors this week: Bumble, Heads Up for Tails, Kotak Privy League Program, and HDFC Mutual Fund. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Welcome back to Think Fast, where we are today in a somber mood. because we met on Saturday. But anyway,
Oh my God. That should be like the opposite of like a somber causing situation. Guys,
yes, yes.
jump in.
What is jumping? Oh, sorry.
You.
Oh yeah. Today's story, first story, is that there's a lot of brand founders who are, you know, who feature in the product ads. Shashank Mehta from Whole Truth Foods is literally the brand ambassador, the main actor in all, main character in all their communication. Vineeta Singh from Sugar was recently in an ad with Tamanna Bhatia and Ranveer Singh for Sugar. You have Vaibhav Sisinti, the founder of Growth School, who's across all their communication. Lakshmi Desai, a very interesting story there, and I want to talk about her story with the Indian ethnic co and how she's really become, a part of that. And obviously, there's the OG, Mahashay Dharampal Gulati from MDH Masala, whom we all
MDH.
know. And so, first things first, what's your perspective on founders or people who run companies being in their own ads? I have one great example of beyond these, but I want to bring that up after you comment.
So I think being in an ad is very different from being the face of your company. I think founders should be very, very, very careful about being the face of their company because, one bad news and the next thing not only are you getting written off personally, but as is your company, right? And we've seen a lot of international examples where, one bad mistake and you've seen it from the likes of like Peloton or, Glossier. Elon Musk could potentially be the poster child of not just screwing up his reputation, but also everything that he manages and he runs. But let's see what goes there. Um, I think founders being in ads isn't that like it's a little bit of like much ado about nothing, right? Like I think as long as it's done in a logical way and for a logical reason, and if the ad is good,
Yeah.
it makes sense. Like in my opinion, one of the best ads that I've ever seen is the Dollar Shaving Club ad,
Hmm,
right? Where
hmm,
the
hmm, hmm.
founder sort of,
Yeah.
walks through and he did this really fun, like, monologue of why Dollar Shave Club and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
So that was a great example because, the founder was, I think, like a theater kid or some such shit, and he had written the script himself, and the ad wasn't about celebrities or whatever else. The ad was about why he started Dollar Shaving Club. So I feel like if the ad is right and if the context of why the founder is there, it totally makes sense. In the case of, for instance, someone like Shashank, I think in the Sugar ad, Vineeta is amazing, and
Hmm.
I think every entrepreneur should look up to what she's done. I think she's like the only team that have actually cracked
Yeah.
quote unquote D2C beauty in India. But she was kind of like she's a little bit of like a extra in the ad, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Of course she's very popular and she
Yeah.
thanks to Shark Tank, and she demands the status, and she's obviously well known amongst folks like us and people who watch Shark Tank, but you know what I mean? Like I was a little bit of
Yeah.
like, I don't know why you're
It
here.
made no sense to have her in it because you just play. Like, I agree with you. She played almost like an extra, like Tamanna Bhatia's sister kind of character, like more of friend kind of character. Um, but Shashank's one is interesting, right? He's always played
Yeah,
himself. He's always been the founder in it, and like from every one of their campaigns, it's almost been like interesting to see the character as the founder of the company who's playing himself in all the situations that you might find himself. So from finding like influencers for their campaigns to doing stuff with Razorpay, I think that's an interesting way to do it, builds character. And also, I think it's a smart way because if you are a startup and you can't spend all that money getting celebrities on, you make yourself the character if you have the flair for it. And that, I think that's
yeah.
what he's done. Lakshmi Desai is a great example, right? So the Indian Ethnic Co. and I had her on advertising instead a while back. They started off doing, just selling on Instagram, and
Hmm.
she, her mother run the business, and she said her mom's a co-founder at the age of 60. I remember that
Hmm.
was one of the things she said. And they were doing dance reels with, and everybody in their office does do those dance reels, and that's how they've been able to sell. They got popular through that, and the clothes also got taken off. So again, that's an interesting way to take, again, a founding team. The entire team is in those videos, in that sense
Yeah.
of the word. But my favorite of all time, who has done this, is
Is.
is guess who that is? It is Mr. Y. Raju Reddy, the chairman of Country Club, who goes everywhere across the world and says, Marhaba, like this. This is my favorite pose. If you're watching the video, Is the why Raju ready pose you see in a country club hoarding. This man's got two thumbs up there and got that face. I practiced
Oh
this.
my God. What the
Marhaba.
hell is this? And
Amazing.
what is country club?
Country
And
club.
why does
You've
this
not seen
guy
you've not
look
seen a
like
country
he's
club
like,
in country clubs are these clubs all across the country. They're even in Dubai, everywhere else. About I think about 38, 40 of them across the country. You get
yeah,
membership. It's like a club membership, and he kind of built this one up. And he's a character in every single ad, every country, every spot they open up in. Like he literally has a video of him skydiving and coming off on a parachute and just doing
oh
marhaba
my God.
on their. I think their Dubai country club when it opened up. So I think
Oh,
that's legend
wow.
status. That is legend level founder in advertising. But I feel in most of these cases,
Hmm.
um, I think the do's are a what are you portraying? Are you just trying to be an actor, or are you kind of portraying
Hmm.
yourself or kind of helping the brand? I feel that's where the line really lies. Like Vaibhav Sisanti, which came up as well earlier, was so Growth School started off because of Vaibhav's online growth hacking courses on LinkedIn, which he used to do, and that
Yeah.
eventually the edtech platform became an extension of that. So it makes
Hmm.
sense for him to be to be the primary face because it started from his popularity. So again,
Yeah.
that makes sense. You got to figure out if it makes sense or are you just doing this for fun. I feel in
Yeah.
Vinita's case, she just did it for fun. I don't think there's
Yeah.
any other reasoning for her doing that apart from the fact that okay, it's just fun. It's an ad. I mean, with Tamanna Bhatia and Ranveer Singh, and I'm in it.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's about helping the brand in that case. It's just about a bit of
Hmm.
fun for the brand.
Yes, that is true. But how can we forget
Marhaba.
the ultimate, the oh good lord, the ultimate example, however, given by Jalasmi is Baba Ramdev in Patanjali.
And
Oh,
Richard Branson. You're forgetting
in
Richard
what?
Branson. Richard Branson is for everything
He's in
virgin.
Virgin ads. Oh
He was, no? Yeah.
shit. Yeah, but like Richard Branson was like
Hmm.
this. I mean, is like this, like
Same.
larger. He
Baba
was like
Ramdev,
the Elon of
Branson,
his
same
time.
thing.
Guys, Baba Ramdev is like, let's not even get into what he's. You're comparing Patanjali to like the Virgin Group.
Virgin.
Come on. Come on. But switching gears to yet another story, which is this really interesting article in Wall Street Journal, which essentially covers how Airbnb's focus on brand marketing instead of search marketing seems to be working fairly well. So, for those of you who are uninitiated, Airbnb made this like whole claim in the middle of COVID that they were going to wean away from performance marketing and
Hmm.
instead focus their money, effort, and dollars on building the brand up, right? And brand marketing is usually associated with things like, events, creators, influencers, social media, lots of content. And actually, brand marketing, like the best way to describe brand marketing is positioning or proposition led marketing. And that's what Airbnb has genuinely really doubled down on,
Hmm.
because the only way to actually deliver on proposition or positioning led marketing is through storytelling. And
Hmm.
Airbnb has had a very special focus on all things public relations, PR, seeding the right stories with consumers, with trade media, business media, whatever else. And that bet really seems to be working for them, man. So just to sort of read out a couple of numbers, in the first quarter of 2021, sales and marketing expenses fell 28% from the quarter a year earlier. And obviously, Airbnb has been able to do this because, as it turns out, 90% of their traffic is direct. So I mean, I have so much to say about this because, especially in today's day and age where every single brand owner, marketer, CEO is trying to wean off of Facebook, Instagram, Google, so on and so forth. The Airbnb obviously is a shining example, but what are your 2 cents on this story?
Uh, I actually don't have 2 cents on this story, but I feel in most cases when you look at this that Airbnb has always been a unique case of a company that seems to be always doing things in the right way.
Hmm.
And I feel in this case it also makes it an interesting strategy for them to kind of look at how they're kind of moving forward and kind of building up. But I've been thinking about this story ever since we kind of picked this one up, and I'm still want to
Hmm.
consider why does this appeal to you? What do you think about it first? Because I'm still trying to wrap my head around what I think about it.
So many things, right? It's a little bit of what you said and what I mentioned earlier also, where I feel like Airbnb can afford to do this because unlike so many other aggregators, their differentiation is unique supply.
Mm.
So and hence why is their search so heavily focused or built around Airbnb? So for example, you don't say I'm living at Varun's house, you say
Mm.
let me book an Airbnb, right?
Yeah.
So
It's like
so I think
Xerox.
it's yeah, exactly, it's become a verb. And I think that's a thing where, the second your brand becomes a verb, um the inherent consumer the inherent way for a consumer to reach your brand therefore becomes literally just like, even if you go onto Google, you'll put in Airbnb, right? You won't put in bed and breakfast for me to stay at. I mean, the Indian context is very different from their core markets, which is European and American markets. But the point that I'm making is, everyone doesn't have this privilege of weaning off of performance and just doubling down on all things brand, public relations, and let's just say the more softer sides of brand building and marketing. Airbnb is able to do this because at the root of their thesis, at the root of their product is unique supply. And
Mm.
that unique supply, because that unique supply itself is branded Airbnb, you don't
Yeah.
need to invest in performance, because the only place where you can find that unique supply is Airbnb. Like, I'll give you two examples over here, right? Etsy is
Mm.
another very good extension of this. So for instance, you don't like you never say, oh, I want to shop from Suchita's store on Etsy. You just say, I want to go to Etsy and see what's up.
Yeah.
And I think, not to like plug us in unnecessarily, but like even at LBB, we built that experience, right? Where for example, like on LBB, 99% of the search is unbranded. It's very
Mm.
like trend led. And if you see Airbnb's current sort of experience, I don't know if you saw, but they've launched these filters, which though was a slightly like lame reveal, like they made it seem like they were doing something like path breaking.
Mm.
But Airbnb, a couple of months ago, launched this new experience where you can filter not by price, but by the type of Airbnb that you want to stay at, right? So, for example, you can filter by mid-century modern Airbnb, or bohemian Airbnb, or like,
Yeah, I
wacko
saw that.
jacko
Yeah.
Airbnb, right?
Yeah.
So I think. And this is what I'd, like, I'm sure this happens with you as well, but there's so many brands who will reach out to me saying, what should my Instagram strategy be, or what should my like SEO be, like how do I get to 100,000 followers? And i
Mm.
think i think the one question that I always encourage brand owners to ask themselves is, what is my proposition, and how do I marry my channels with my proposition, versus just existing on a channel because everyone else exists there.
Yeah.
And I think that's
And
what Airbnb has been able to do.
and the reason I sort of dig into this as well, because I think back on the early pandemic, right, when they had to kind of make the moves that they did. They chopped
Hmm.
off a bunch of the verticals they had. They had the entire content vertical they kind of chopped off,
Yeah.
and they were kind of going much wider, and they went very focused on the platform. It
Hmm.
seems very interesting, and what I'm wondering is this a good result of that? Is because they went deep into focusing on the platform and not going wider across all the stuff they were planning to do, and now they've gone deep into it. Plus, performance went down for everyone because of what's happened with data, and
Yeah.
so it's almost like you had to take a call to raise a focus and not just downsize, but really like focus in a certain area, and that's really paid off really well as well.
But I kind of disagree, right? Because I think the thing that happens when people go like very narrow is, then actually the easiest way to acquire consumers is performance. Because
Mm.
then, you just like play and Airbnb could have very well done that, right? They are cheaper than a
Mm.
Hilton or any like standardized kind of stay. But I think and it's not just the Airbnb guys, but I remember I was in a conversation with Vineeta Singh, in fact,
Mm.
who herself, in a chat that we had with her for something late for like LBB's Basecamp company, she had said that one of the most underrated ways of customer acquisition and brand building is PR.
Mm.
And she said that herself, right? She said that, no, we never really took it seriously, and we thought, kya hi hoga, and performance is just so much easier, better, faster. It's easier to discount and run crazy ads on Amazon to drive sales. But what was her appearance, for example, on Shark Tank? It was
Yeah.
fucking PR
Brand
brilliance,
marketing. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Shark Tank was. Like, why would a founder otherwise piss away like 3-4 crores on a show? It's because, do the ROI, the eyeballs on that 3 to 4 crores is
Massive,
unimaginable.
massive.
So I think I'll end with that. But it
Yeah.
everything always comes down to what is your proposition, what is your positioning, and is your channel strategy matching what your proposition is, which Airbnb can afford to do because their
Fair
proposition is
point.
unique supply, which you can't find online.
Fair point. And on that note, while I soak that one in, we will take a break. Be right back with Think Fast. Welcome back to Think Fast, where it's nice and cozy in the evening. The air conditioning is on, and I'm sitting here and I'm talking on this mic. And I'm like, why am I doing Think Fast in the night? But anyway, what are we talking about now? We're talking
This is
about
your fault. I just want to let you know this
how
is
is it
your
my fault?
fault.
How is it my
Actually, it's
fault?
my fault because Saturday I was in. We could have recorded yesterday, but in any case, let's focus. Let's not squabble
Focus,
after our
focus, focus.
Karan
Like
Arjun
Airbnb,
moment.
focus.
Yes, on sleep companies. Kick us off, sir. Kick us off.
So there's been this influx of sleep companies now. If you look at the Indian market versus when you look at the US market and a company like Casper, for instance, and you and I've spoken about Casper in the past. Uh, in India, sleep companies seem to be really doing well. They seem to be growing multiple fold in that sense of the word. And in many ways, I think it's important to kind of dig into seeing why they're working and what's really working for them. So, what is your perspective on why they're working, Suchita? Your audio has gone away.
I
Someone has
said,
muted
there
us.
we go. Ask me. I muted myself. There we go. Ask me the tough questions. Um, Okay, so basically, I think the space of this general like mattresses, pillows, plus is super interesting because after furniture, it's the second largest category in all things home, right? So all your like decorative items, blah blah bullshit is like wayside. Your like heavier items which fall under furniture at large and this category are gigantic. This category is interesting because like everything else in India, only a fraction of this market is actually organized. So and I can pull out the very specific
Normal
numbers and share
Gadiwala
them.
will be everywhere. That's how we all bought
Exactly.
mattresses, right? Go and figure
Yeah.
what some cotton stuffed into something and you get back pain, all that
Hanji,
stuff.
correct. Yeah, so unorganized has been like a lion's share, and organized has been, whatever, 30, 35 odd percent. The interesting thing, and the other thing, obviously, is, there's one part of it is organized and unorganized. The second part of it is retail versus e commerce, right? So, in your retail experience, your major players are the likes of Kurlon, Spring Fit, Coir Fit,
Duroflex.
mattresses, Sheila Foam Limited, Springwell, Duroflex, and the likes.
Yeah.
And then obviously you have this wave of quote unquote D2C, though none of them are actually D2C, like D2C players, right? Which is everyone from Wakefit to the Sleep
Sleep
Company to
company,
Sleepy
Sleepy Cat.
Cat
Yeah.
and many others. So obviously I think all these new age mattress companies are latching on to taking your organized mattress retail online through more through basically like creating more brands. Obviously the interesting thing about each and every one of these is all of their positioning is very unique. So for example, like if you see a Sleepy Cat mattress ad, right? So one person will say, orthopedic brilliance, another person will say deep touch pressure technology, a third person will say, cool tech fabric. So I think the really cool thing about this category is
Hmm.
you can come up with the zaniest things to make the mattress seem interesting, because at
Yeah.
the end of the day that's all it is, right? But it's all of these like what did Duroflex have, that foam remembering,
Yeah.
that thing that remembers the posture
Memory
of
foam,
your back,
memory
or
foam, memory
memory
foam.
foam.
I'm a
Yeah,
memory foam consumer. I survive on memory foam. It's called
lovely.
old problems.
Yeah. So I know I rambled because like obviously I'm excited about this category at large, and I was right, guys. I was right. I told you home would do well this year. But
What
that's my 2 cents.
what's also been interesting about this category, right? And I spoke to Kabir Siddiq a while back from Sleepy Cat,
Hmm.
and one of the things he spoke about was that they also saw the problems consumers have. Like you buy a mattress, oftentimes you don't know how to get it into your house because mattresses are large and if you don't have an elevator or elevator is too small, you got to figure out how to get up the stairs. And so
Hmm.
one of the problems they look to solve is how to kind of put it in a box.
Hmm.
That whole mattress in a box thing was something which they really sold, and it actually really helped sales for them and grow. And they're all
Yeah.
calling themselves sleep solutions companies of sorts. I mean, that's a term which I
Hmm.
thought was interesting. They're using sleep science, sleep solutions. They're figuring ways of really looking at what are the problem areas for consumers in the mattresses, because not
Hmm.
everybody likes the same kind of mattress. You mentioned memory foam. That's a huge part, right? Of like you've never had that opportunity, and for people who have, let's say, lower back pain or who generally have sleep issues in that sense, memory foam really plays a strong part in that sense of the word. So one part is that, and I think the other part which is interesting is a lot of them have come from experience of how the manufacturing of mattresses happen. So they've looked at the
Hmm.
West in terms of understanding packaging, but they have a deeper understanding of either the manufacturing from the fact that either they come from that background of, let's say it's a family manufacturing business, or they come from the fact that they've actually worked in companies that are manufacturing mattresses for, let's say, Duraflex, etc. So they've been able to use that know-how, add this piece in. And I feel that's why this market in India is growing as much, because you haven't seen the same kind of growth for this category in the US, for instance, where you
Yeah,
normally would
yeah.
kind of look at similar categories. In India, it's grown, I feel, A, because they've looked at actual consumer needs. Like the box
Hmm.
thing for me was a game changer when I thought about it, because that is a single problem which everybody who buys a mattress has if you live in an apartment.
Hmm.
If you don't have a large enough elevator, how are you going to get that thing in? I've literally seen people put in Bombay, tie it with a rope and try to get it through the balcony or through the
Hmm.
window in that sense, right? So it makes total sense. I feel that's really one key aspect they've cracked, which
Yeah.
a lot of other markets haven't.
Yeah, I think obviously one part's that, and second is um I don't want to make it about the simple things, because as you know, all these businesses are obviously very complex. Everything, like you said, from manufacturing to supply chain to innovations like, mattress in a box, creating technologies that make it easy, like, your vacuum technologies, right? That make it easy to to ship out these heavy
Mm.
ass mattresses, pillows, and the likes. All them go a long way. But I want to give a shout out to these companies for just the most brilliant job that they do on their product display pages. You
Yeah.
have to, and I did this recently because I was looking for new pillows, which I ended up buying from Sleepy Cat. But you have to spend time on the product display pages of these brands on Amazon, Flipkart. Dude, like this Sleepy Cat chap, whatever his name is, Kabir,
Kabir.
yeah, so he, for example, literally features in the videos on the PDPs. And he
Mm.
explains how each of, like, you can watch a video of someone explaining to you how does this pillow work, how will it come packaged to you, what is it good for. Just the way in which they use content to drive commerce is incredible, because remember, these are high ticket size expenses, right? Like they're
Yeah.
not, it's not like a flippant expense where you don't mind wasting 3,000 bucks on buying the wrong thing. And mattresses are expensive, pillows,
Mm.
all these things are expensive. But I just want to give a shout out, and to any marketer listening to this, please go spend time on their product display pages. They do such a brilliant job of explaining to the consumer why their product is better than their competitors, and I think that goes a long way.
And from sleep, we shall go to headphones and music. Not really, but we're talking about boat, and um, everybody expected boat to really be able to, and they're already kind of filed for their IPO as much as what the market was talking about. But now they've deferred that. They've raised $60 million from private investors. It also follows, if you look at it, Farmeasy and Room both kind of
Hmm.
put off their listing plan. So a lot of the companies going towards IPO seem to be pulling out and trying to find ways to stay private right now, not really go public, considering the market conditions. Uh,
Hmm.
do you think for a lot of them, it's not just the market conditions, it's also the reaction to how some of the recent IPOs have been?
I think one is that. Second, like, they're not going to get their money back or even out by filing in this, climate. Also,
Yeah.
the ones who attempted this in the recent past, delivery being one of them, has
Hmm.
been like rogered by the market.
Yeah. Yeah.
Despite not performing pretty, like, what I mean, like it's not like it's like you're not even performing badly, but you will get killed just because such is the environment.
Yeah.
So logically makes sense. Obviously, a lot of them have had to raise more money. Like I think both announced their IPO cancellation slash postponement, um,
Hmm.
by also announcing a
Fresh
decent,
round.
I think, a 500 crore round or something like
Yes.
that.
Yeah. $60 million round. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Same thing.
which
Same thing.
they, yeah, yeah, which they raised with their existing investors. So I think right now there's generally a lot of like optics management that all of these companies are having to do. Even First Cry, for that matter, which is an IPO that I would have been interested in seeing
Hmm.
how that turned out. Even they sort of shelled their plans. So more than anything, it's just a requirement of what the time of of the day, year is. But things are going to be bad for the next 18 months. So all these companies are either looking at shoring up cash, raising more money, but just figuring out a way to stay healthy and stay good for the next 18 odd
Yeah.
months.
And our final story for the week, which is, are you a MyGate consumer? Does your like? I know that you live in a house and not an apartment, but have you ever used the MyGate app?
I live in an apartment, but Delhi doesn't have these situations because we have like colonies. You know what I mean? Like it's like
Hmm.
a, yeah, like you live in like a society, right? Like in
Yeah.
a, yeah, that's a Gurgaon phenomena. That
Hmm.
like, yeah, heart of Delhi is like building, and every building has a floor. And yeah, long story. Sorry, I am digressing. No, we do not use MyGate, and I am not familiar with
So,
what
so I'm a
MyGate
MyGate
does as a
consumer,
consumer.
right?
Uh-huh.
And I've used MyGate in even the last building I lived in before we moved to the one we live in now. And it's almost became this, like, it's almost like a need you didn't know you had till you used it, and you're like, oh my god, this just made life so much simpler. And there are a bunch of these. There's MyGate, there's Adda, many others. The idea was simple, is that you have a level of security because anybody's coming towards the gate, you can see their face because it shows up on the app, get a notification to approve someone's entry. If you have household help, etc., when they're going in and out, and you can add layers to it. Everything from like paying society maintenance fees to everything else could be managed there. Um,
Hmm.
and I always looked at it saying, okay, this is such a great idea and a great way to build a platform to solve a problem, which I feel that many buildings have in that sense of the word. But
Hmm.
it's very interesting article on the Morning Context about them and where they've ended up now. What's actually happened with them is that there was a point of time, as they were raising more and more rounds of capital, in the attempt to scale even wider, they
Hmm.
went away from a subscription model to a freemium model where they were actually giving the app for free to building societies, and you could
Hmm.
only pay a subscription if you wanted, let's say, additional features like no ads and and some other things in there. And that didn't really kind of like get as many subscriptions. So suddenly, while they scaled, they suddenly like stopped almost the entire primary source of monetization. They tried to build their own services. There's a way for you to buy stuff off the MyGate app itself. None of those have really grown as much, and now they moved to advertising, where you're constantly getting pop-ups and notifications of something you might want to buy. And a lot of consumers are complaining about it because you can't switch off notifications on the MyGet app, because if you switch it off, you don't get those. The reason for the app is nullified. So it's a tough point for a company that's kind of grown with a certain direction. But I feel at some point that call to go freemium is what's kind of biting them. Also considering, like, you have Apna Complex and Adda,
Hmm.
which are the two main competitors. Apna Complex was acquired by a real estate company, Anarok, and Adda, which is also present in other countries, etc. And there's also No Broker, which seems to be like, which also is heavily funded. So it's a bit of a tough spot for them.
But do you think it's because MyGate is a feature, like it's not a product? It's like it should belong in something else. Like, you know what I mean? Like is this something that could, I know, dumb
Yeah.
example, but could it be on like a big basket? Because it's the most obvious use case for it was also one of the biggest growth hacks for big basket, right? Doing this whole community type strategy, society strategy. So is it because you think it's just a feature, or is it that monetization for shit like this isn't very clear?
So I think No Broker is an interesting example of the fact that there's have the brokerage part of it, finding tenants, etc. But they also have this whole thing about managing the building. I
Hmm.
feel No Broker is a good example to look at in terms of what you're saying. It's a feature for them. But
Hmm.
even by itself, there was enough going on the app for it to be a reasonable sized business. I feel the problem was
Hmm.
that you got at some point look at what your business is and saying, okay, this is how much it will scale the way it is,
Yeah.
and that will be a good, solid, stable business. But I feel that the at some point you want to be bigger, you want to be something else, and sometimes going after that can really kind of push you sideways. I feel that's what's happened. The feature by itself is a solid SaaS company. I don't see anything
Yeah.
wrong with that, but I feel they've just kind of like they've just taken the wrong turns.
Wishing MyGate all the very best in their sweet journey after this.
Marhaba.
Marhaba. Oh my God. And with that, what a
We
short and
we
sweet episode, man.
Short of the
47
episode. We're
minutes.
going for a break. We come back with recommendations. Welcome back to Think Fast, where since I have saying welcome back, I'm going to let Suchita give the recommendation first while I think about what I should recommend.
Of course. I have two recommendations. I think recommendation one to everyone who's tuning in is, guys, make friends with strangers. I mean, who would have thought that Varun and I, never
Yes.
having ever like known each other or met each other, but through like work and then Twitter, we became friends and now we have a podcast. And like, I don't know, man. I think like, meeting you, Jalasmi, Vishnu, it was just one of those things that's all like, man, I am glad we all actively put ourselves out there, even
I
if it
agree.
even if it comes at the cost of trolls or you being bullied by me on every episode, as some follower of yours informed you on Twitter. Dear follower,
Oh
please get
wait!
in touch with me
Oh,
directly.
I,
What
I I
happened?
have I have to talk about this. Oh shit! How did I forget? So
Okay.
there's this guy on Twitter who tweeted a while back, and I didn't
Mhm.
mention it on the episode. So he messaged me on Instagram. He said that, um, he said because of your Instagram story where you said that proof that Varun is has people who like him or want to take photos with him or something like that.
Yeah.
He replied and told me, but still doesn't sound. But Varun still doesn't sound like a celebrity, unlike Suchita, who definitely sounds like Anushka Sharma.
Oh my God. I will take that as a compliment, but I didn't think that was a thing that you were going to get to. Apparently, ladies and gents, someone messaged Varun saying that I'm really mean to him. But that's by design, guys. That's by design. That's to make this episode like fun and
Yes.
interesting and a little bit of like, smartless, like sassy ass energy. But yeah, so one recommendation is, put yourself out there, make new friends. You never know, who sort of like comes into your life and makes you do things that you never thought. Like I don't, at least I didn't think I would have a podcast that has more than 8 episodes, because my previous track record's been pretty shite. But one is that. Second, now that I have got
पहले
the
recommendation
me
में
being
सेंटी करा दिया यार मतलब सेंटी हो गया मैं
Role, Varun Role, some tears,
रोल
some
है
tears. This is basically my like, karma evening for that guy who called me an asshole on Twitter in your DMs, which I don't have a problem with, by the way. I feel like people have like issues with women generally being funny and sassy, but keeping that
I agree.
aside, I think the second recommendation that I have, okay, so if there were two people in this world I could have for like a dinner party or whatever else, it would be Atul Gawande, who I'm
Hmm.
obsessed with. And the second one is Ashwath Damodaran, who I'm also obsessed with. Ashwath Damodaran is a professor at the New York at New York University Stern School, and he's basically like a gangster. You guys have to subscribe to his newsletters, but if you're not like a finance, investing, valuation person, just listen to him speak. It is like music to your ears. Like he's just like a first principles, no BS, down to specifics. He's very like Clayton Christensen, for those of you who are familiar with Clayton Christensen, but in the context of all things fintech, not fintech, finance, valuations, understanding the market, so on and so forth. The cap table, in fact, did a very, very good interview with him at the start of this year, where he spoke about Indian IPOs, and he actually spoke about Paytm very pleasantly and very nicely. But I can go on and talk about Ashwath
Hmm.
Damodaran for like the next 1 hour. But guys, please just you search him on YouTube. Search, like, find a podcast by him. He's just like, it's like Lata Mangeshkar, but like like nerdy stuff. It's just
Just
joyous.
compared him to Lata Mangeshkar.
It's like music to your ears, man. Like I'm
अच्छा
being
पहले that.
literal about it. Yeah, that
अच्छा
way,
fair
that
enough. Fair
way.
enough. I was
Joining
wondering,
the
that's a
dots.
bizarre like I'm like Ashwath Damodaran and Lata Mangeshkar. It's like not a combination I would have thought of in my life. What is my recommendation? What is my recommendation? Uh, since you mentioned two people I love to have always have a dinner date with, Ryan Holiday and Morgan Housel did a podcast together. Two people I
Array.
am gently obsessed with.
Hmm.
Fabulous episode, so many insights. At some point I forgot who was the host, and I think those are the best conversations because they were both asking each other so many things. It's on
Yeah.
Ryan Holiday's YouTube channel. Look for the Daily Stoic and look for this conversation. Fabulous one, like so many things in there, on the money side, on the life side, on stoicism and everything else. So catch that. And what else? Nothing. Just go hang out with some friends, yo. Did I say yo?
Yeah,
I
you
said yo.
did. Really trying to fit into Gen Z because you hung out with one on Saturday.
Hang out with some homies
Oh my
and
God.
meet your peeps.
Yes, and don't be a pedo at Spotify's IRL event.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host. Up,
Okay.
Papa Ji.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Toodles, my
Toodles.
poodles.
Toodles.